Hello, Red Breeds. How are you? Good afternoon to you if you're in the United States, and good evening to you if it's evening wherever you are. My name is Oluwatoyin Ojeyomi, the one you know as Papa T, and of course, the chief representative of the Rare Breed community. Last week on All These Things, we opened the door to an uncomfortable truth. When conflict shows up, many of us choose to talk around the person instead of talking to them. Now, in part two today, we go further. You know, why is it easier to process pain with everyone else, but the source, the person who is involved in the situation with us? Is this simply human nature or a learned survival response? Does sharing our truth bring healing, or does it quietly deepen the divide? I'm hoping that people will be able to find us on TikTok this morning. We're trying. We hope we are on TikTok as well. Well, if that's the case, then you can join us. When you see us on TikTok. But the conversation today is, why do we choose to discuss our displeasure around a person rather than having that straight conversation with the person? Does sharing hurt bring? Does sharing our hurt bring healing, or does it quietly deepen the divide? Many people are guilty of this. Many of us are guilty of this. So today, we explore the fine line between healthy expression and harmful avoidance. We examine what openness really means in relationships and whether transparency with accountability can create more damage than clarity. Now, this is about courage, about choosing conversation over comfort, about saying, talk to me, not talk about me, even when it feels risky. My name is Oluwatoyin Ojeyomi, and I invite you guys to join me on the show today. I'm expecting a call from Lagos by Oluwatomiche Oladapo Kuku. That's my friend in Lagos. She has it in mind to call so we can have this conversation. And I want to thank real quick my friend in Lagos, in the United Kingdom, in London, Olakomi Sanusi, who joined us last week and shared a lot of wisdom with us on the conversation. And if you want to call in, the number is 216-490-0011. I'm going to open with a piece of music, and let me find a song by Temi Oyedele. And if you're joining us on Facebook or Instagram right now, and you're able to see today's broadcast, could you please type good audio? I would very much appreciate that. So let's play the music of Temi Oyedele to open the show today. Boom. Oluwatumishe Oladapokuku. If you can hear me on Facebook or Instagram, can you type if you can hear the piece of music I'm playing? That's the music of Temi Oyedele, and it's entitled Maybe. And that's the story of many of us. Maybe we'll get it right someday, maybe we wouldn't. But what about trying? Today we're talking about talk to me, not about me. And the question I always ask myself is why do we choose to talk about people we are in conflict with rather than why do we talk about them to other people rather than talking to them directly? And that is very important, to delve into, to dissect and see why we behave like that. Is it human nature? That's one of the things I always ask myself. Is it just in us to do that to one another? And is it like we're trying to avoid conflict, thereby making the conflict at hand more complicated? I don't know. So, do we prefer to gossip rather than doing emotional processing? I don't know. These are the questions I, choose to, ask you guys. Why do we talk about people instead of them? Well, one of the things that I've been thinking about, that I've been talking about, is the fear of confrontation and rejection. Sometimes we fear that people will reject us. Sometimes we fear looking at those people in the face and talking to them directly that they did something wrong to us. And for those joining us on TikTok, the thing we're discussing today is something that pertains to every human being, or almost every human being. Why do we choose to talk about people rather than talk to them when we have conflict with them? You can actually call us on 216 And for those calling from outside the country, you can add +1 to 8, the United States number. You can call on WhatsApp. You can join us by audio. And I see some people joining us on TikTok. B979B7, Flinex, Ancient Debris, William, Carson, Huerta. It's nice to have you on TikTok. What we're talking about is when you have conflicts with people, why do you choose to talk to other people about the conflict you're having with them rather than having a direct conversation with them? Sometimes we want to be nice, we want to be holy, we want to be good, we want to be perceived as excellent people, and and in the course of that, we ultimately destroy the relationship, because by the time it filters to the people involved and they hear that, okay, I've been friends with you, we talk, we hug, we do things together, and when you have an issue with me, why don't you talk to me? Why am I hearing this, that I hurt you, that I did this to you? Why am I hearing this from other people? And that becomes an issue for people to grapple, to grapple with, to cope with. And this has actually done more damage to relationship than actually healing those relationships. I have a friend from Lagos, Nigeria, who's reaching out to us. Yes, I have my friend from Lagos, Nigeria, Oluwatumishe Oladapokuku. Hey, Bombo, how are you?
Hi, Bomo. How
Hey,
you doing
I'm
today?
fine. It's nice to have you on the show today, and I am already swarmed. People on TikTok joining us, saying hi. What we're talking about today is talk to me, not about me? Why is it that as humans we talk about people we cherish to other people when there's a conflict? It doesn't matter whether we've gone like 20, 1 year, 2 years, 20 years. It is a part of human behavior to talk about people that we have conflict with to other people. Why do you think this is so? And it's interesting to me that most times I observe that amongst even people who are, let me not say spiritual, let me say people who are religious. In religious circles, I've seen people hug each other on Sunday at church, spend time with each other, play with each other's children and all that. And as soon as they disperse, each of these people is talking to a neutral person about the other. I want to thank Nika. I want to thank Hi, Tana, James, and all these people joining us on TikTok. I want to thank you for joining us today to talk about why do we talk about people to other people when we have conflicts with them rather than talking to them. Bombo, how are you going to weigh in on this subject?
All right, it's interesting that because I find myself in this season right now, and it's interesting that this is a topic I'm talking about on all these things after a long while. So if I'm going to say anything, well, the first thing I will say is I think is the fear of being misunderstood. And sometimes I think it just comes across like, okay, I've known this person knows me, um, and I expect that there are certain things that they shouldn't do. They know my boundaries. I know their boundaries, and people who were looking out into a relationship thought that think along the lines like, oh, these people are getting along fine, and then this person that you think you share everything with, um, would you just feel like, okay, you then just want, maybe you now go to the another person, you now then go to another person who you think is connected to both of you,
Right.
to weigh in, right? Sometimes it comes off as gossip, and sometimes and I'm going to just speak for myself and speaking to the relationship you and the kind of relationship you and I share. It's just like, if I cannot speak to this person, or if I cannot articulate how I feel to this person with this person, it would just be easier to break off and just watch from afar. But I think it is mostly because of a fear of being misunderstood. And I'm using my lenses here. I think mostly it's because of a fear of being misunderstood. Or on the flip, it could be, I thought you understood me.
Me, right.
Why are you then doing this? So though now people then maybe I'm saying they because I don't find myself in because I would rather speak. If I call you my friend, I know I've sent you a message. I sent you messages. I'll just say, "Are we okay?" If I feel that something where there's a strain or there's some gap, I'll just say, "Are we okay?" And sometimes, yes, we're not. Sometimes, do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But if I have a friend and I cannot ask, "Are we okay?" And then when I do ask, "Are we okay?" instead of coming right out to say that, oh, okay, no, we're not okay, but I can't talk about it right now, or um I just don't know. I just think it's the fear of being misunderstood. Yeah.
What about the natural tendency in humans to
Hmm.
just gossip? Like sometimes it is when people do you wrong that you have an opportunity to say a lot of resentment you've held for a long time towards them. Now, God help both of you. The person you having issues with now is probably someone who's doing better than you or just has some new beautiful experience, and you don't even know that when you discuss these people with other people, you are actually
Mm.
reflecting a pint of jealousy, envy, or bitterness that you never even knew was there for a long
Mm.
time. Have you considered that?
I can't relate. You know that for a fact that I can't really, but I'll try to weigh in on it. I think is the Yoruba adage that says if you give even a madman a hole, he would build a ridge towards himself.
Right.
And I used to like use that adage whenever I'm in conflict with people and somebody and I've been privileged and blessed to have people who know that they can reach out and say, oh, Timothy, you did this, or I can reach out to them and say, oh, you did this. Oh, do you understand?
Right.
And there are a couple of people that I have actually called out and they felt like, oh, no, you're not supposed to call me out. No, Timothy, you're supposed to be able to take this. You're supposed to understand. So it's self-preservation. However, there was a day about 3 years ago. 3 years ago now, yes, 3 years, October 15th. I can't forget. 3 years ago, I was riding with a friend, and she was speaking with me, and she was trying to talk about a certain person. And I said, and I asked the question: when you give a madman in Yoruba, I said, "Ah, tó bá fún wèrè lọ́kọ, kí ló máa ṣe?" And then, if you give a madman, and she said, "Ó máa fi kọ́ ọ̀run ni."
Oh,
And that was the first time in my at the time my 43 years at the time. I'm like, what? Why did you say that? And I needed to, and I slowed down. I was driving. She was sitting beside me. She was about to come off, come down. I said, no, 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 no. I need to understand. And she said she'd never heard the adage before.
right.
That she had never heard that adage, and the logical common sense thing for her when she heard when you give a madman a hole was for the madman to hook it on his neck,
Mm,
on their neck. And that changed a lot of things for me. It's practically still the same thing. It's still practically your building a reach towards yourself. But that self-preservation, I believe, is one of the things that make people avoid crucial conversations and constructive confrontations. Um, and people do believe that I don't know. I think whether it's a societal construct or something that we have been modeled to us over and over, that we're unwilling to desensitize ourselves from. Is that when you have a crucial conversation with someone, then that relationship is going to break.
right. To
And that might be true. That might be true. It might break, but it might just break to heal again and be better.
We have quite a lot of people jumping in on TikTok. It's difficult for me to catch up with every one of them, but I welcome you all to all these things on Rest Africa FM, where souls connect and we talk about all things as long as they have positive impact on our individual and collective minds. My guest on the show today, joining us from Lagos, Nigeria, is Oluwatomishi Oladapo Kuku, an experienced broadcaster, uh, publisher, author, uh, public speaker, a convener of minds when it comes to mental health, well-being, and she's also a life coach amongst many other things. She's a poet, she's a writer. She's let me not go on and on.
Are you sure you're speaking about
So
me,
so
sir? Is
so I
that
don't end
me?
up telling all of you she's a singer. She sings better than
No,
Seal, who
I
is
don't
my
sing better. No, I don't sing better than you.
yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Elsie, thanks for joining us. Tommy, shot bars, Cherry, Archery, Mom, Orlando. What we're talking about today is why do we talk to other people about people we're having issues with rather than discussing with them directly? Now, at what point, in your opinion, does
Mhm.
I just need to talk become I refuse to address. Like some of us are wired to have conversations, like um,
Mm,
the Bible and many other books of the spirit, different spiritual paths advocate that
mm,
whenever you have an
mm,
issue with someone, go straight to them and talk to them
mm,
and fix it.
mm,
And even in
mm,
Yoruba age, it is said, like I said last week, that Shemikin
mm.
Bielogunre. But there are times
Yeah.
when past experiences with the same people
Mm,
teach
mm,
you to
mm.
know better, to do better, and
Yeah.
meet them where they are. So at
Mm.
that point, you say, I refuse to address.
See, so
And there
again,
are times when you say, I just need to talk based on the
mm,
fact that the person you're dealing with does not deserve
mm,
your silence, considering how they deal
mm,
with you. What do you think?
mm. Again, self-preservation. Because let's look at the case of you've talked to this friend, you've taken your time, you in quote swallowed your fear of being misunderstood. You took your time to okay, if so that maybe you have a harsh voice like I do, and so that so that I would then nothing would be misread. You take your time, you paragraph it, you write it poetically, you send it to them, and then and then they reply, and then this is a personal experience I'm sharing,
Oh, Tumishi,
and then
I
they
have to put you on pause real quick and acknowledge someone.
please go ahead.
Our friend,
Mm.
our brother, my highly esteemed friend and colleague from London, Olasukomi Sanusi. He joined me last week,
Eh,
and he shared a new world of wisdom and
mm,
and straightforwardness, bluntness on the topic,
mm,
as I would expect for
mm,
someone like him. He just joined us
mhm,
on Instagram right now, and yeah, I'm still having people, jumping in on TikTok, and
mm,
yeah, it's getting late, and so
mhm,
you can continue. Humble legend all the way from Maryland. I thank you for joining Dooney's
mm.
World. Ola Dooney, thanks for joining us as well. So Tumishi, please continue
Yeah.
your train of thoughts.
Yeah. So, and then when you have died to self, because the truth is self-preservation. You want to protect yourself. You want to protect. You do not want to be vulnerable. That is just it's just like you said, human nature. But then you believe that you have built a connection with this person, and then they're supposed to understand. You share yourself. You do the first time, the second time, the third time, and if you want to do the 70 times 7 thing, you do it over and over, it will chip off. And then two things happen. You cut off emotionally, yeah, or you cut off totally just to save yourself. Is it okay? I'm not sure if that is okay. But then you see that's why the Bible is my frame of reference, and I'm grateful that you also reference that a bit. And it's the process of conflict resolution is clear. Go to your brother. If you could clear it, you have won a brother. If your brother does not listen, take it to the elders. If the brother still doesn't listen, take it to the church and all that. And if at that point, after you have tried all this level of conflict resolution, and your brother, and this is Jesus speaking, is not Paul, is not Peter, is not Thomas, is not Matthew,
Right.
it was Jesus. And if you have done all of these things and your brother still is acting funny, then leave him. So I think we should, for those we should first of all get our theology right. It isn't. There's room for it to be done, for that to be done in the scripture. There's also room for if your head or your eye or your arm is causing you to sin. If a particular relationship that you've tried to heal over and over, and this person keeps hitting at the sore spot that both of you have constantly had a conversation with, and it's taking you to a place of resentment, which is a sin, cut it off.
Well, Sukami says on Instagram,
Yeah.
well done, guys, at a training. And he says, Tumishi always on point. I want to thank you real quick to Sukami for what you did on the show last week, and we're still rolling with Tumishi now. Tumishi,
Yeah.
some of the impact that this does to relationships,
Mm-hmm.
whether we pay
Mm-hmm.
attention or not,
Mm-hmm.
uh, include breakdown of trust and
Yes.
intimacy,
Yes.
like someone who's always trusted you, who's always felt close to you, who's always felt, bonded, with you or to you, hears something from other people and it's like, wow, we've come so far. Why am I hearing this from other people? So that's an impact. Another one, another danger to this attitude or this approach to relationships or conflict is the misrepresentation of truth through retelling. You know,
Mm,
by the time the thing comes back to you, it's either
mm,
something's added to it or something's been taken from it.
taken from
And
it.
then let's also remember that it brings about emotional triangles. And
Mm,
emotional triangles, bring about, divided loyalties. Also,
mhm.
I believe that it creates an escalation of conflict instead of resolution. You know, in my words, I'd say resolution delayed is conflict extended.
I like that.
Yeah,
Resolution delayed is conflict extended.
extended.
So,
Yeah, and silent resentment
mm,
and
mm,
unspoken expectations. What are your
mm.
thoughts, Nkechi?
So, um, I see that, and I'll raise you this. What I say to myself: expectations are precursors to heartbreaks. Uh, expect because most of us, and I'm going to, I don't like, I trust Lasunki. He must have been really forthright, and I'm just going to try to be as forthright as that. Most of us expect ourselves from others, and it is not possible. And the reason this is not possible, or the reasons this is not possible, is a plethora, is a gamut, right? Because we do not have the same stories of origin, we do not have the same way we respond to these stories of origins, and we are a as a person, it's just like the cells in our body. That's how our experiences are. We are a compilation of different stories and all of that. And this is what form. These are the things that form our personalities, that form the way we respond to things, that form our work personality, our relational personalities, and all of that. So we tend as humans, when we make connections, to expect a bit of what we are giving back, and that is not wrong. However however, um this is how I said to a friend very recently: we judge the impact or the importance of our cells in others based off what we believe we have, the sacrifice we've made for that relationship. What you believe is a sacrifice might probably just be the norms for the other person. And then you take offense. Well, what you see as a sacrifice, the other person does not see. What you see as investment, the other person does not see it as investment. So we tend to expect ourselves from others, and
Others.
then when we don't get it, we then begin to tell ourselves stories. We tell ourselves stories to fulfill that expectations or disabuse those expectations in our minds. And then when we cannot find that resolution within ourselves, guess what? We tell people our stories, our version of stories based off that expectation that we had of that person. So it takes a really elevated person to be able to sit down and say, okay, this is where this is where oh, this was my part. I remember there was one episode of the podcast that I said that I've gotten to a point, and I got that there a long time ago, where a relationship breaks down. I sit down and ask myself, Tumishe, what part did you play?
Right. That's wisdom. Yeah.
What part did you play? Or What inactions were there? What flags did you? And when I say what parts did you play, people show. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, "Believe people when they show you who they say they are."
When people show you who they are, believe them.
Who they are, So you see it, but because you're respecting yourself from them, you turn a blind eye. And then the hurt comes, and you are more upset with yourself than with them, to be honest. You are more upset with yourself than with them, that, oh, I saw this and I thought I could manage it. So when all of this, and then again, we circle back to self-preservation. We circle back to self-preservation because all of this, all your part that you have played, you know that, and then you go look for an opinion, which unfortunately turns into gossip.
I ask myself, what kind of relationship are we actually building when honesty is indirect? I ask myself. But it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of love for the next person, respect, to talk to people and say, you did me wrong. Blessed evening, Weird MC, joining us all the way from London. She says, good blessed evening. She's joining us on Instagram. We're talking about, human nature in conflicts where rather than talking to the person who offends us directly, we talk around them. We talk to other people. And
Can I be a mental health advocate for a moment?
can you do what?
Can I be my official self for a moment? Like
Yeah,
my
go,
training, my office. Okay,
go
so
ahead.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Um, most of the ways that we respond to conflict are largely trauma responses. We were not we were not necessarily given tools, at least from where I come from, and I'm sure where you come from too. We're not necessarily given tools on how to respond to conflicts, to disagree with good faith. So we grew up in a society with people who when, who invalidate us when we go to say, "Oh, you offended me." So we are all used to being invalidated. So when when people dismiss you all your life, somebody wrongs you, you go tell the person that they wrong you. So you expect it of others. So it feels to me, or I could say, that the whole of humanity is thriving on, say, age long or whatever long, you know what I'm trying to say,
Right.
of invalidation. When you now see people, this is my experience, when you now get around people who are elevated and healed enough and taking time out to dig and do the shadow work and be better, and they're still around the people who have not taken time to answer the question of, why do I do this? Is it because I've been invalidated, or I was not giving voice, or I've been dismissed enough? They now begin, there's this silent resentment. Oh, how could he do
Right.
it? How
Right.
could she do it? And I couldn't do it. And then there's the silent battle, envy. And the envy is not because of what you have materially, is the amount of healing that you've been able to do on yourself. And trust me, Bumbo, that kind of envy is much more dangerous than someone being envious of what you have.
Whoa.
Because when a person cannot understand how you can carry heavy well, they orchestrate heavy. Yeah.
Wow, you got my mind jumping around like a monkey, you know, uh, following your train of thoughts. And the part that strikes me the most in all you said is the envy part of it and resentment. And that can really be dangerous in the long run, especially when people hold those two toxic dispositions silently towards you in the long run. I mean, if you knew, you would do something about it, but without knowing, it's like throwing punches in the dark and hoping you hit someone, you know. Now, because it's like I always say, time flies when you're having meaningful conversations. I was
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
say goodbye at 12:45, our time here, and it's 12:48, and it still feels
Yes.
like I'm just getting started.
Mm.
Now, let's look at you know ways around these attitude or this toxic way of approaching conflicts.
Of approaching
Yeah.
conflict.
Uh,
One, one, one. Be truthful with yourself. You can lie to everybody. You cannot lie to yourself. You cannot. And if you choose to lie to yourself, you will stew in your suit. Yeah, you will stew in your suit because the moment you do that work in a the reason is there are very few people that I talk about people to. And I'll tell you the reason. And I'm sure you know this. So there's no when I come to talk about someone to you, I am coming from a point of, oh, Toyin, what did I do? Where did I go off with? Where, what, do you understand?
yeah.
That's it. That's I think is different because sometimes getting someone from the outside to see you might help, but make sure you're doing it with a pure heart, not because you want to what's the word I'm looking for? Not because you want some justification.
Mm.
Not because you want some justification. You are going there to ask if because some people, and I'm one of them, would process better when they've talked to someone they trust, who they are safe with. And you and I had this experience not very long. I was telling you about someone who had been um who had been sending messages. I've been sending messages to, and and I didn't know there was any conflict. And you remember on that call that they said, right now, send a message to the person. Up until that time when I having the conversation, I was hurt because it's like, even if I did something to this person, I believe that we had that kind of relationship that she could have said to me. But you said you remember, I
Right.
sent a message to the person, and you said to me, if the person you're sending it out of good faith, not because you need a response, but because you need to let it go. And this is a person, and when I got to that heart posture to send that message, a person who has not sent, who had not replied a message to me in 2, 3 years, replied immediately. It's in the heart. If your heart is pure, all things will be pure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tumisha, thank you very much for weighing heavily in on this subject today. No, you see, I had to say heavily because you got me really, thinking about many things beyond how I prepared myself to address, or to treat this subject today. This is part two, and it feels like it's never gonna end because
Never.
it's like a plague in the nature of man. That the more we talk about it, the more other people are able to face, that demon inside of them. All the way from Lagos, Bayomi Abiodun Akim Opakunle, Mr. Opakunle saying, this is deep and for the deep. Flowing with the conversation. Kudos. Proud of you always. Thank you very much for joining us, for your kind comments on the show. I have, a sea of people on TikTok, which we're trying for the first time today, and the duck that is floating here seems to be getting ready to explode. And I promise you guys, we're gonna include you in the conversation next week when we come again. Tumishi, it's always difficult to say goodbye, whether we're speaking
Yeah.
online or offline. But I want to thank
Yeah.
you for the pain you took to join us today, knowing the pain at your own end at a point like this,
Right.
and
Right.
congratulations once again on that event.
Fight for life. Oh yes.
Fight for life.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
amazing, and I'm hoping that someday soon you're gonna share the space with us to discuss
Oh,
that
definitely. Just a
idea,
call away.
the ones you've had in the past, the one you
Yeah.
did this year, which is very, very, detailed and
Mm,
worthy of following, or
mm,
in better ways, if you get what I
mm.
mean. But
Yes, I do.
some of the solutions I want to propose today for people who are
Yes.
catching up later on this episode of all these things is choose direct and courageous communication. And what am I talking about? You know, prepare for communications or conversations instead of avoiding them. As much as you can. Um, the timing, the tone, and emotional regulation is very important when you are passing this message across. In Yoruba, they talk about agbekale oro. You know,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
there's a way you tell a man he's stupid and he's glad to hear it and admit. And then also, if you're trying to do this, one of the things you could consider is create safe spaces for this hard
mm-hmm,
conversation and knowing when mediation or guidance is appropriate. And of course, if you want to employ mediation or, guidance, you want to get from a soul that is at the least on par with both of you or
mm-hmm,
above, rather than someone who is inherently toxic and who will just damage the
mm-hmm,
whole thing. Sometimes
mm-hmm,
the kind of mediation or you know guide that we seek in situations like this is also a huge determining factor to the resolution of the conflict. Now, on a
mm-hmm.
final note, like you joining us or catching up on this video or with us on the show, to remember that conflict is an invitation to grow.
Yeah.
It's important to
Yeah.
speak with people, not
Mm.
about them. Well,
That's speak.
as far as
Yeah.
that is concerned, it's easier said than done. So God help us all. God help me too.
I mean.
Practicing emotional intelligence and accountability could also help. With emotional intelligence, you don't have to respond to things immediately as they hurt you. God help us on that as well, because many of us by default we want to address it right there and take care of it. But most of the time we might regret how we do it. And if we could take a little while, we might realize that what upset us so much that we wanted to say toxic things was not even worth it, was not even a big deal if we take some
Mm,
time to breathe. And
mm,
also we need to try and remember that we can reclaim relationships through honest
mm,
dialogue. And
mm,
my final
mm.
thought today is that if you value the relationship, the conversation is worth having. My name is Oluwatoyin Ojeyomi, the chief representative of Rare Breeds on Resofric FM, and the one behind all those things, saying peace, love, and blessings. And I thank you once again, Tumishi, for joining us.
Pleasure. My
Let's
pleasure. My
let's
pleasure.
do let's do this
Let's do this
more
again.
often.
Let's yes, yes, more often. No
Love, love,
problem.
love. Bye bye.
Love. Bye.